हो चुका है, तो फिर क्या होता है, मतलब फिर क्लास होती है कि नहीं होती है? चलो ठीक है. गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीवन. आई होप द स्टूडेंट्स इन द ऑनलाइन मोड आर एबल टू सी मी. द वीडियो इज क्लियर. एम आई ऑडिबल? गुड मॉर्निंग सूर्या. गुड मॉर्निंग एलिशिया. फिर क्या होता है, ये तो इको कर रही है बस. एम आई ऑडिबल? एम आई विजिबल? एवरीथिंग गुड? गुड मॉर्निंग रघुनाथ. The video is fine. इको तो नहीं कर रहा है? साउंड क्लियर है बच्चों? गुड मॉर्निंग अभय. यस, ऑडिबल, विजिबल. लैग तो नहीं कर रहा है वीडियो ना? चलो ठीक है. लेट्स स्टार्ट द डिस्कशन. ओके, सो व्हाट डिड वी स्टडी इन द यस्टरडेज क्लास? थोड़ा सा रिकॉल कर लेते हैं फटाफट. व्हाट डिड वी स्टडी? हिस्टोरिकल बैकग्राउंड ऑफ ज्योग्राफी एज एन इंडिविजुअल सब्जेक्ट. यस, ओके, एवरीथिंग इज फाइन, वेरी गुड. ओके, तो क्या क्या पढ़ा था उसमें हमने? व्हाट वर द टाइमलाइंस? यस नहीं, यस बताओ. हाँ, very good. It was more descriptive in nature. Then the focus was more on physical geography. Very good. Then integrated approach. Yes. Then correct. अरे सीधा 0 से सीधा 10 पे आ गए. बीच में तो बताओ क्या हुआ फिर. हाँ ठीक है. उसके बाद when individually geography was emerging as an individual subject at university level, then what was happening during that time period? There were certain dilemmas, dichotomies. Yes, what were they? Yes, where will geography fall? Correct. And what will geography study? That was first question was, what will geography study? Human versus physical. Very good. Yes, then whom? Very good. Possibilism versus determinism. Very good. Yes, then where will geography study? What will be the scale? Regional versus spatial. Very good. Then how will geography study? That is analytical. Very good. Then the resolution was that geography will be both descriptive as well as analytical, right? And then now what are the recent themes in geography? Beyond that, dichotomy. Yes. Emergence of, yes, planning, regional development and planning, environmental issues, etc. So these are the applied, yes, applied themes in geography. How to resolve the contemporary issues. And what was the last theme that we had studied? Last, yes, yes, post-war scenario. That is, there are also certain limits to growth. Okay, this idea we had discussed in the last. Okay, so this was the discussion in the yesterday's class. Let's move forward now with the first unit for population human geography, that is population geography. Okay, let's start the first unit for human geography, that is population geography. So we are starting with human geography, population geography. Okay. आपने कॉल किया था ना अमित? ठीक है. Population geography. First of all, let's write some definitions. Okay, population geography is a division of human geography. Okay, as we have understood yesterday that human geography and physical geography, they are brought two components of geography. Okay, so under human geography, first of all, we will start with population geography. So population geography is just one unit of human geography. So it is one division of human geography. By human, what do we mean? Human, generically, what do we mean by human? Human, we would mean human aspects. Okay, population of human. How it is distributed? What is the density of population? Where are people living? Where are their settlements? What are their patterns? Where they are living, what type of regional development and planning has emerged? So this is all encompassed under population geography. Okay, so that is one of the theme under human geography. Let's try to understand what is population geography. So write down population geography. So population geography is a division of human geography, is a division of human geography that focuses on that focuses on the study of people, that focuses on the study of people, okay, the study of people, comma, their spatial distribution and their characteristics. Study of people, their spatial distribution and their characteristics. Okay. So very simply, it is about the study of people, their spatial distribution. Now we understand the term spatial distribution of the population. So for example, we are interested in understanding about the absolute number of people, how they are distributed. So what is the total population of world now? Any idea? 8 billion, 8.2 billion. Very good. Hmm? So that is how the population is distributed. Okay, the spatial distribution. 8.2 billion is not evenly distributed. So we are interested in understanding about people. Okay, and their spatial distribution and their characteristics. Okay, so by characteristics, this is a very broad term. Okay, by characteristics, we would mean also what is the birth rate, what is the death rate, okay, what is the fertility rate, etc. So the absolute number, the density, the birth rates, the death rates, their spatial distribution. Okay, it is not evenly distributed. Yes, so that is the spatial distribution. Okay, next point, write down. It is the study of the ways in which it is the study of the ways in which the regional, comma, spatial and temporal variations, regional, comma, spatial and temporal variations. Underline these three terms: regional, temporal and spatial variations in birth rate, okay, in birth rates, death rates, okay, distribution, distribution, comma, composition, migration, comma, migration and growth of population, and growth of population are related to the place, and growth of population are related to the place. Okay, so very importantly we must understand this aspect, that is we are talking about the regional aspect. हम regions की बात कर रहे हैं. South Asian region, ठीक है, Sub-Saharan African region, okay, North American region, regional variation. What do we mean by spatial? Spatial, we understand. Okay, spatial variation, regional variation, and temporal variation, because both spatial and regional variation have a temporal component. Okay, so we can take the distribution regionally, spatially, but in a region also, is the population stagnant? No. 1950s the birth rate was different. 1980s the birth rate is different. By 2000s the birth rate is different. So is it varying temporally? Yes. So it also has a temporal component. So for example, in population of India, there was a time when we used to call it population explosion phase. Now we are not in a population explosion phase, right? So it is also varying temporally or not? Yes. So what is the concern? The concern is population numbers. Kitne numbers hai? How they are varying regionally. Okay, region by region. How it is varying spatially and how it is varying temporally. And to under huh, temporally time. Yes, correct. 1920s, 50s, 70s, 2000s, 2025, how it will vary in 2050. So this is temporal variation. Okay, temporally means time, with time. And how do we understand these variations? We understand these variations with very important term, we call it as demographic attributes. ठीक है, स्टार मार्क करके लिख लो, demographic attributes. Okay, so demography is simple numbers. Okay, it is simple numbers. So for example, what is the birth rate, what is the death rate? So that encompasses demography, statistical analysis, right? So that is demography. So to understand demography, we have certain attributes. What are these attributes? Like the birth rate, like the death rate, like the total fertility rate. Okay, so these are called as the demographic attributes. By understanding its variation regionally, spatially and temporally, we will understand about the population of a country, of a particular state, of a district, right? Understood? Simple. So it is regional, spatial and temporal variations with respect to these demographic attributes, birth rate, death rate, etc. Okay, the distribution we understand. Okay, composition. So composition, population composition entails all of these aspects. Population composition का क्या मतलब है? It means birth rate, death rate. Okay, between 0 to 5 years, what is the total number of females? What is the total number of males? From 5 to 10 years, what is the number of males and females? Okay, like that. So we are talking about the entire age bracket and also talking about number of males, females. Okay, so that entails the population composition. ये पूरा population composition हो गया. So for example, the entire population lies between 0, okay, till let's say 90 years. So what is the age bracket in which the people are falling? And number of males and females also. So this is the entire population composition. So this is also a demographic attribute or not? Yes. Okay. And also very importantly, migration. Because one aspect is any country will be having, okay, birth rate and death rate, but will also be having migrants or not? Yes. So will that also impact the population of a country? Yes. In some countries now we know that the population is falling, but still the population number is not falling. Why? Because of migrants. Okay. So basically the idea is that there are certain demographic attributes which help us understand the entire population composition. Understood? Simple. Okay. And migration and growth of population. Now because of birth rate and death rate variation, the population is varying in a country or not? Yes. In some countries it is growing steeply even currently now, and in some countries it is declining. Last year they had asked you a question, demographic winter. याद आ रहा है ना? तो पढ़ेंगे इसके बारे में, बट एक आइडिया थोड़ा सा ब्रीफली हो जाए. दैट इज द पॉपुलेशन, बर्थ रेट, डेथ रेट, migrations, all of them are impacting the total population composition of any region, of any country. Simple. ठीक है. Next point. And how these patterns okay, and how these patterns, okay, they impact or influence the economic, the social and environmental issues. Economic, social and environmental issues. Okay, so the population might be growing, okay, might be declining. In both the case scenarios, will it impact the socio-economic environment of a country? Yes. Will it have the environmental repercussions? Yes. So for example, if a country is having, let's say, population explosion, what will be the negative environmental repercussions? Resources. Very good. The last concept that you had studied yesterday, limits to growth. Right, very good. So there will be certain repercussions. So population geography in totality, एक crux में अगर हम बोले, what we will study? We will study about the demographic attributes, population growth of any particular region, okay, the spatial distribution, and how all of this is having certain consequences. First of all, why this is happening? Why the population grows in a country? ये भी तो question है ना. ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है? That in some countries the population is growing, while in some other countries it is declining, right? And what will be the repercussions? What will be the impacts? Simple. This encompasses population geography. Now, to understand this graph, we will have to do certain discussions. Then later on, I will come to this graph again. Okay, I will not explain this graph for now. Now, next, let's write down certain definitions of demographic attributes. Simple definitions है, इनको लिख लेते हैं. First, birth rate. So that is number of live births. Okay. Number of live births. Okay. Per 1,000 people per annum. Okay. Now, in all the definitions, it is per 1,000 people. Okay. But maternal mortality is per 1 lakh. Okay. It is 1 lakh. So, per 1,000 people, it is live births. Okay. So, average for world, it is around 17.2. Okay. For India, it is around 18.4. ठीक है. लेटेस्ट है क्योंकि देखो बहुत सारा डेटा है ना. सेंसस का पुराना हो गया है, जो रीसेंट है वो दे रहे हैं. ठीक है. सो बर्थ रेट now it is also variable as per the stages in which a country is falling. Wherever okay it is falling as per the different stages, the birth rate and death rate that would vary. What are these stages? We will understand later. Okay. Then infant mortality. So this is number of babies dying before their first birthday. Okay, again per 1,000 live births. So this is also called as infant mortality rate, IMR. Okay, IMR. So this is 26 for world globally. It is around 28 for India. Neonatal would mean the babies who are dying before 28 days. Okay, before लिख लो NMR, neonatal mortality. Okay, neonatal mortality rate. Neonatal, NEO, neonatal, NATAL, neonatal mortality rate. Okay, before 28 days. Per 1,000, yes. All are per 1,000 only. Okay, which is around 20 for India. Okay. And under 5 mortality rate, babies dying before their 5th birthday. Under 5 mortality rate. So which is around 32. Okay. And MMR is per 1 lakh. Women who die during pregnancy, okay, while giving birth to a child. MMR, maternal mortality. Okay, that is per 1 lakh. Who die, okay, during giving childbirth. Okay. But that is per 1 lakh. Okay, per 1 lakh. Women who die, okay, during childbirth. During childbirth. Okay. Per 1 lakh people per annum. Okay. That is MMR, maternal mortality. So that is also reduced, which is 97. Next, life expectancy. The average number of years. The average number of years. 97. Okay. The average number of years a person born in a particular country might be expected to live. Not necessarily he will live to that age, he might live more, but that is the average. Okay, average is expected to live. Okay. Is expected to live. Okay. So for globally it is around 73. Those countries which are very advanced medically, socioeconomically, there the average expectancy is very high, around 80, 82 years, like Japan, okay, Western European countries. Okay. There the life expectancy would increase, right? Because they are having a lot of better medical facilities, socioeconomically advanced countries, right? Hmm? Yes. क्या होता है? क्लीन एनवायरनमेंट भी है, मेडिकली एडवांस्ड भी है ना? इंडिया इट इज अराउंड 72. Okay. TFR 72. Okay. TFR very important, total fertility rate. Okay. Total fertility rate. Let's write down the definition. Last year this was a directly asked MCQ in your PYQ. Okay. 2000 I think 23 में पूछा हुआ question है. Directly definition they had asked you. Okay. TFR, total number of children that would be born to each woman. That would be born to each woman. If she were to live to the end of her childbearing years, ठीक है, and give birth to children as per the prevailing ASFR, age specific fertility rate. ASFR, age specific fertility rate. ठीक है. So globally around 2.4. For India it has reduced significantly. Yes, there are data that it is 1.9 currently. It has even declined from 2. Okay, last data was 2.0, but now it is 1.9. Okay, now let's understand this definition. थोड़ा सा complicate हो गया, इसको समझ लेते हैं. TFR, total fertility rate. Okay, what the definition is saying, total number of children that would be born to each woman. So we are talking about each individual woman and the total number of children that would be born to that woman. Okay, when, in what condition? If she were to live to the end of her childbearing years. Okay, first condition is that she would be living to the end of her childbearing years. Okay, she does not dies prior to that. First condition. And give birth to children, and is also giving birth to children as per the prevailing age specific fertility rates. Okay, ASFR. Now how ASFR is computed is, okay, so we divide the number of years into 5 years bracket. So for example, let's say 19 to 24, okay, then 25 to 29, like that. Okay, and in this age bracket we will compute the total number of children. Okay, that is, for example, let's say total number of children who are born to the women who are falling in this age bracket, that is women who are age 19 till women who are age 24. Okay, specific number of children will be born to that age bracket or not? Yes. So for example, let's say 1000 number of babies are born that year to the women who are lying between 19 to 24. Okay, 1000. And the total number of women who are in that age bracket, let's say total number of women are 50,000. So we will get the age specific fertility rate for women falling between 19 to 24. Simple. समझ में आ गया? ऐसे ही we will compute for 25 to 29, 30 and like that. Okay, till the end of our age bearing years, and then we will sum this all and we will get the TFR. Okay, simple. समझ में आ गया? age specific fertility rate, this is understandable or should I explain it again? समझ में आया? मिस हो गया? See, we will divide the number of years, that is the reproductive years, into the age bracket of 5 years. 19 to 24, 25 to 29, like that. In this 5 years age bracket, we will take the total number of women who are falling in this age bracket: 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So in that country, for example, there are 50,000 women in this age bracket. So this will be the denominator. And for example, they have given birth to 1,000 children. So we will take this as the numerator and we will divide this. So we will get the age specific fertility. And then we will sum all the age specific fertility and we will get the TFR. Simple? समझ में आ गया? Clear है अब तो? So this is TFR. Yes. ठीक है, simple. नहीं, सम करेंगे. जैसे 19 to 25 का कुछ आया, इसका एक आया x plus x1 plus x2 ऐसे, और into 5 कर देंगे क्योंकि 5 years लिया है ना, तो वो एज स्पेसिफिक फॉर्मूले में मत जाओ, आपको एज स्पेसिफिक फर्टिलिटी समझ में आ गया ना, दैट्स इट. फॉर्मूला नहीं पूछेंगे, आपको मैंने समझाने के लिए बता दिया. एंड देन वी विल सम ऑल ऑफ दिस इनटू 5 करते हैं, तो वो आपका TFR आ जाता है. ठीक है. लिटरेसी भी लिख लो, लिटरेसी रेट. So literacy rates have also increased significantly. So it is the number of people above the age 7 who can read and write in any language. Age 7 who can read and write in any language. So total it is 81. 81%. India. 87 for male and 74.6 for female. For India, 81%. Next, very importantly, dependency ratio. So this is the ratio between those of working age and non-working age population. So in numerator we will have the number of dependents on non-working age group. Write down in numerator, this is number of dependents or non-working age group. So which age bracket this will be? Less than 15 or more than 64. Less than 15 or more than 64. So they are termed as dependents. Divided by the non-dependents, that is population aged between 15 to 64 or the working age. Now my question to you is, if the denominator is large, will the dependency ratio be high or small? Small. Simple. If the denominator is large, then the dependency ratio will be less. There will be more number of people in the working age bracket or not? Yes. Correct? Now this is the scenario where more number of people are falling in the age bracket 15 to 64 and lesser proportion of the population less than 15 years and more than 64 years. So this is less and this is more, right? In such a scenario, when a country is having a high denominator population, that is more number of population, okay, more number of people in the working age bracket, that is called as the demographic dividend phase. Okay, this is called as the demographic dividend. Okay, write down demographic dividend. Dividend. Okay, demographic dividend. Okay, significantly large population in the working age bracket, significantly large, तभी तो हम बोलेंगे कि we are having demographic dividend. The term dividend, why the term dividend? Because we are having a higher population in the working age bracket, है ना, dividend तो तभी हुआ ना. इसकी कम होगी, इसकी बहुत कम होगी, कम होगी. अब डिपेंड करता है किसी में. अभी जैसे इंडिया के लिए डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड हम फेज यूज करते हैं बिकॉज population age between 15 to 64, this is a huge chunk of population. Elderly population is hardly 8-10%. 0 to 15 also is very less. So large population in this age bracket, that is population demographic dividend. Okay, so write down the scenario when, the scenario when a country has significantly large population, a country has significantly large population, between 15 to 64 years, between 15 to 64 years, that is non dependents, as compared to the dependent population, as compared to the dependent population. ठीक है, it is referred to as demographic dividend. This is referred to as demographic dividend phase, demographic dividend phase. Okay. So almost 60 to 65% population is falling here in case of India, right? So we have a huge chunk of non-dependent population. So that is why we are saying that India is in demographic dividend phase. Earlier China was in demographic dividend phase, right? Let's say in 1980s, 1990s, early 2000s, this was the phase when China was also having a huge population chunk in the non-dependent age bracket. That is why, because of the surplus labor force, they were able to harness the potential for the industrialization. Okay, so that was the time of the population demographic dividend in case of China. Now this is in case of India. Okay, but along with demographic dividend, we also require, we also require रिसोर्स तो हो ही गया ना, ह्यूमन रिसोर्स तो है ही है. हाउ दैट विल हैपन? अरे जो तुम्हारे पास नहीं है, अरे नहीं वो क्यों नहीं है? स्किल्स, वेरी गुड, है ना. डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड अलोंग विथ स्किलिंग, है ना. स्किल्स नहीं होने के कारण से there are lack of the job opportunities. So demographic dividend along with skilling is required, otherwise this demographic dividend will turn into demographic disaster. Okay, वो वहां ही स्टार मार्क करके लिख लो. India is currently, India is currently in demographic dividend, in demographic dividend phase. Is around 60 to 65% population. Okay, is non-dependent population. However, along with, however, along with DD लिख लो, demographic dividend. Skilling is also required. However, along with demographic dividend, skilling is also required. Skilling is also required. Okay? Skilling is also required. Otherwise, the demographic dividend may turn into a demographic disaster. Demographic dividend may turn into a demographic disaster. ठीक है? Demographic disaster. Now let's try to understand another definition. Write down population momentum. Now see, we have understood, okay, till now about certain concepts. We also understand that the different countries are having different fertility rates, right? So some country might be having lesser fertility rate now. Okay, then the population growth will decline or not? Yes. And in some countries, the TFR rates, they are high. So population growth will be high or not? Yes, it will be higher. But can I say that even if the TFR rates are declining, the population growth will be there, still there? Leave apart migration. Okay. If the TFR rate is declining, population growth will decline. But I'm saying the TFR rates are declining, but still the population growth is happening. Can this happen? Why? बढ़ रही है, बट पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ तो फिर भी कम हो जाना चाहिए काफी. अभी भी ठीक ठाक माइग्रेंट नहीं है. चलो माइग्रेंट्स भी हटा देते हैं. माइग्रेशन, लीव अपार्ट माइग्रेंट्स. Yes, because subsisting population is huge. Correct, Kriti. But tell me the correct aspect. Current population, subsisting population is huge. Correct. But उसको ठीक से बोलो. Tell me correctly. What do you want to say? Interpretation ठीक करो. अब क्वेश्चन समझो फिर से. TFR rates are declining. So population growth must slash. Right? That is what I'm asking. Why? Why that will result into population growth? Because हाँ हाँ वो सही बोल रहे हो. सही से बोलो. नहीं नहीं सही बोल रहे हो. टर्मिनोलॉजी भी छोड़ो. सही बोल रहे हो. Yes, that will result into fertility. Okay, because the base is large. Understand? Okay, इसको समझाते हैं. So for a country in 1950 the TFR rate was high. Okay, so TFR was very high. Let's say 4 or 5. In 1980s it was still high. It had declined, but it is still high. It is around 3.5. Okay, TFR is declining but still high. By 2000 it is declined around 3. It is now 1.9. Okay, the TFR has declined. The population growth was happening here. It is declining, but still it is happening. Why? Because in the previous decades, because the TFR was high, there are certain number of babies who were born in the previous decades. Okay, in 1980, 1990s, the babies who were born. By 2000s, they are now in the reproductive age span. Now, because they are in the reproductive age span, that would still result into some fertility. समझ में आ रहा है? कम हो गया है fertility rate, but still that would result into some number of babies or not? Yes, that would still result into population growth, even despite the fact that the TFR is declining. The TFR is declining, but still there were some number of babies who were born in the previous decades. So that is resulting into reproduction, and that is resulting into some number of babies. So still the population growth will be there because of the accumulated population base in the previous decades. Clear? That is called as population momentum. okay, population momentum, that still the birth would happen, still the population growth would happen because of the large population accumulated base. Okay, so subsisting population is huge, population base is huge, because of which still there will be population growth, there will be population momentum. India is in this phase now, despite the fact that the TFR is 1.9, but still the population growth is high. Okay, why? Because of the population momentum. Okay, so population momentum likho. Despite despite decline in total fertility rate, despite decline in the total fertility rate, okay, the population continues to grow. The population continues to grow. Okay, continues to grow, comma, because of the accumulated population base. Because of the accumulated population base. This is referred to as population momentum. This is referred to as population momentum. Okay. You can note this data. Okay. So India is in currently population momentum phase. Okay. Those students who are in online mode, I hope this is clear to you. Okay. This is important. Why population growth is still happening in India? There is still decadal population growth or not? Yes. The population growth in Western European countries, okay, in countries like Japan, etc., it is significantly low. India's TFR has declined significantly. 1.9 is very less TFR, less than replacement level. है ना, replacement level TFR कितना होता है? 2.1. लिख लो. Replacement level TFR is 2.1. Okay. Yes. Okay. Replacement level TFR is 2.1. So it is less than 2.1. We are not even able to replace the population. But still the population growth is happening because of population momentum. Okay. Population momentum. Next, I don't density of population. Okay. That is density of population. That is number of people. Number of people living in a unit area of the earth surface. Living in a unit area of the earth surface. Number of people living in a unit area of the earth surface. Okay, which is generally number of people per square kilometer. Okay, per square kilometer. So even if the absolute population is high, it is not necessary that the density will be high. Simple सी बात है. Why? Large area होगा. और large area है, number of people कम है, तो density will be automatically less. Okay, like Ladakh, like Rajasthan Thar. Okay, तो ये सब क्या है? Population density is very less, despite the fact that the area is very large. Population number is less. Okay, and areas like Bihar, UP, they are very congested. Okay, West Bengal, because of the population density is very high. Okay, now very importantly, this is a map which is showing the population density. Okay, so you can see certain areas which are demarcated in maroon or red, right? So here the population density is very high. Can you identify certain areas by the name of region or continent level where the population density is high as per you? कहाँ दिख रहा है आपको ज्यादा है? कंट्री लेवल पे भी नहीं, रीजन लेवल पे बोलो. एशिया, वेरी गुड. साउथ ईस्ट एशिया, वेरी गुड, वेरी गुड. और आइडेंटिफाई करो. एशिया के सारे रीजन में डेंसिटी इज हाई, वेरी गुड. ठीक है. यूरोप में ध्यान से देखो कहाँ है स्पेसिफिकली यूरोप में. हाँ, तो कौन सा यूरोप है ये? वेरी गुड, वेस्टर्न यूरोप. ठीक है. अमेरिकाज में अगर देखें तो ज्यादा कहाँ है रिलेटिवली? नॉर्दर्न में है थोड़ा. ठीक है, थोड़ा नॉर्दर्न रीजन, ये वाले रीजन में ही ज्यादा है. ठीक है, तो कुछ एरियाज तो हमने आइडेंटिफाई किए वेयर द पॉपुलेशन डेंसिटी इज हाई. ओके, Now we understand that first of all, the population in absolute numbers, that is not similarly distributed. Population density is not similar across all places of world, right? So we will understand this with the help of the patterns of population distribution. Okay, that is very important topic. Write down patterns of population distribution. Patterns of population distribution in world. Next heading though. Patterns of population distribution in world. Okay. So simply what do we mean by patterns of population distribution? How the population is distributed. Okay. How is the population density distributed across world? Okay. Where there are densely populated areas, where there are sparsely populated areas. And what are the reasons associated with that? For as per you, what will be the reason associated with that? Why there will be densely populated areas? Very good. Yes, yes. So what can we classify that into? What? Who is impacting whom? So what we will call that? Very good. That will be deterministic factors. More probably we are okay thinking that there will be deterministic factors which will be impacting the population distribution and density. Correct? Yes. So we will try to understand that, and we will try to understand the other aspects also. Okay. So population distribution. एक line लिख लो. Heading के बाद में लिखो. This refers to. This refers to distribution of population and density of population across different regions of world spatially. Okay. Next, write down population distribution is uneven. Population distribution is uneven. And more than 90% of world's population lives in only about 30% of the land surface. 30% of the land surface. Okay. Next point. Lesser population is concentrated. Lesser population is concentrated in high latitudes, in tropical deserts, comma high altitudes, comma equatorial rainforest, etc. etc. So the earlier map that was depicting the density. Okay. We also can have the physical features. Okay. So we are very well aware that the lesser population concentration happens in the high latitudes, in the polar areas, in high altitudes, okay, in the desert areas, in the equatorial rainforest, etc. Okay. So we will try to understand the factors responsible for that. Okay. Write down the factors. Okay. So also when we see the population distribution, okay, almost 60% population is concentrated in almost 10 countries. Okay. इंडिया चाइना का पॉपुलेशन कितना है टोटल पॉपुलेशन में से? टोटल 8.2, यस, अराउंड 34%. ठीक है. सो इंडिया का पॉपुलेशन कितना है? नहीं, तुमने थोड़ा एक दो आगे साल आगे की पॉपुलेशन बता दी. 1.46. ठीक है. चाइना को वी हैव सरपास्ड. Okay, in absolute numbers we are the number 1 now. So that is the population momentum, right? So 1.46 and also 1.4 something like that China. And total India and China is 34% of the total world population. Total world लिख लो 8.2 billion 2025 8.2 billion. It was projected to be surpassed in 2025. We had already surpassed that. Okay, 8.2 billion. India 1.46 billion. India and China encompassing almost 34-35%. India and China combined. India China case study is very, very, very important. Okay, after studying tomorrow's theorems, theories, etc., I'll tell you a case study between India and China. Okay, how the population growth has happened in India and China's case and how it is variable now. Okay, because the fertility rate has declined there significantly. वहाँ बहुत कम है. चाइना में 1.2 1.4 एक्सेट्रा इस टाइप से है, बहुत कम हो गया है. ठीक है, तभी तो वो वन चाइल्ड पॉलिसी रिवर्स किया ना, है ना. वन चाइल्ड पॉलिसी हैज नाउ बीन रिवर्स्ड और नॉट? यस. Okay, so almost 34% India and China. Okay, next write down density. Okay, densely populated regions. Densely populated regions. Densely populated regions. Okay, densely populated regions. So there are 5 areas. Okay, which are referred to as the most densely populated regions. First, East Asia. Okay, East Asia. Second, Southeast Asia. Third, South Asia. Okay, East Asia, Southeast Asia, South Asia. Okay. Fourth, Northwestern Europe. Northwestern Europe. And fifth, Northeast America. Northeast America, which is in Northeast US and Southeast Canada. Okay. Northeast America. Okay. Western Europe, Northeast America. Okay. South Asia, Southeast Asia, East Asia. Okay. So Asia हमें पहले ही समझ में आ गया. Okay. Large part of Asia, Northwestern Europe, Northeast America. Let's try to understand the factors. Why the density of population is variable? Why only population density is very high across these regions? There are certain other countries also. For example, Singapore is very densely populated, right? There are certain other countries apart from these regions also. But these are the most densely populated areas. Okay, let's try to understand why. So factors, and let's try to understand the pattern. पहले इस टेबल को देखते हैं. Some part of the table you will understand today and also probably tomorrow. Okay, अब ध्यान से इस टेबल को देखते हैं. Population, okay, land area, density, world share in, okay, percentage in population. Now region wise, can we see Asia is having the largest world share percentage in population? कितना दिख रहा है? Around 60%. So Asia is having the largest concentration of population in the world. ठीक है, अभी लिखो मत, पहले सुन लो. ठीक है, 60%. डेंसिटी तो हाई है ही है, चलो एशिया में. So 60% population of the world is encompassed in Asia. Then we can see a large proportion of population also Africa, 17%. Then across Europe, etc., the population has been significantly low now as a proportion of the total world population. कम हो गया ना, यूरोप में, अमेरिकाज में कम हो गया, right? Why high in Asia? Why high in Asia? Now, why high in Asia? There are multiple factors. Okay, there are many factors, some of which you can understand now. For example, historical civilizations, right? In case of Africa, it is high, it is second highest, but it will increase in the coming decades because the fertility rates across Africa are still very high. Across Asia, they are declining. Across Europe and Americas, the fertility rates have declined. So the population growth will not happen across Americas, will not happen across Europe. Where it is going to project? It is going to happen across Africa. In Asia also, it will be declining now. The fertility rates are declining. We have understood that. क्योंकि देखो चाइना और इंडिया तो मेजर चंक है. चाइना fertility rate already declined. इंडिया का decline होगा, right? So where will the population growth happen? Across Africa. Okay. Currently it is high in Asia because of the historical factors, but it will happen across Africa. इसमें एक लाइन लिखो, स्टार मार्क करो, नेक्स्ट राइट डाउन. ठीक है, या तो लिख लो रीजन वाइज डेंसिटी ऑफ पॉपुलेशन. वी विल राइट डाउन 2-3 पॉइंट्स ऑफ एनालिसिस हियर. रीजन वाइज डेंसिटी ऑफ पॉपुलेशन. ठीक है, राइट डाउन रीजन वाइज डेंसिटी ऑफ पॉपुलेशन. ठीक है, इसमें 1-2-3 लिख लेना. राइट डाउन फर्स्ट पॉइंट, currently the largest share of population in the total world population is from Asia. That is 60%. That is 60%. ठीक है, that is 60%. This is mostly on a, उसी point में लिखो, continue in the same point. This is mostly on account of the historical factors and physical factors. ठीक है, but as continue in the same point, but as the TFR rates are declining, ठीक है, the population growth will also decline in Asia. The population growth will also decline in Asia. In coming decades. Next, second point, Africa constitutes approximately 17% of total world population. ठीक है, of total world population. However, as the TFR rates are very high, okay, across African countries, the future population growth will happen substantially in continent of Africa. Substantial growth of population will happen in continent of Africa. Can you name some countries where in Africa where the fertility rate are high or the literacy rates are very low? कुछ country कुछ याद आ रहा है? नाइजीरिया और बोलो, सूडान, सब सारन अफ्रीकन बेल्ट, ये वाला सब याद आ रहा है? यस, वेरी गुड, यस, है ना, चाड, माली, गाना, कॉम्बो. ठीक है, अब ये आपका पूछा हुआ क्वेश्चन है PYQ. जिस साल TFR पूछा था, in that year only they had asked you about the aging population. The 3 choices which were given, okay, even if you could have recalled this fact, where the population growth is happening, ठीक है, where the population growth is not happening, they had put one of the option as Italy etc, where there is aging population. उन्होंने ऐसे 4-5 कंट्री दिया था, इटली और ऐसे 2-3 और दिए थे, मुझे नाम नहीं, जापान पूछा था शायद, ऐसे कुछ था, राइट. Just by simply recalling this fact that the TFR rates are low in Italy and etc. all these countries, you could have eliminated and got the answer. निकल जाता कि नहीं? थोड़ा सा बस ये याद, अच्छा अफ्रीका TFR रेट तो हाई है ना? इटली वगैरह तो वेस्टर्न TFR रेट्स आर डिक्लाइनिंग. सो हाउ द पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ विल हैपन? एल्डरली पॉपुलेशन कहाँ होगा? ये कनेक्ट हो रही है, कनेक्टिंग द डॉट्स हो रहा है कि नहीं? यस, उसी से ही यू कुड हैव गॉट द आंसर. ये 2023 के आपके PYQ है ना? सो जस्ट ये याद रखना है, TFR रेट अगर कम है तो वहाँ एजिंग पॉपुलेशन ही तो होगा, राइट? इंडिया के केस में भी दिस इज अ कंसर्न और नॉट, दैट नाउ वी विल हैव द एजिंग पॉपुलेशन. We are going to lose our demographic dividend. Within the next 20-25 years, we will lose a large chunk of the demographic dividend, because those who are in 20s, 30s now, they will reach their 50s and 60s, right? So fertility rate are declining, so elderly population is there. इससे भी आंसर आ जाता है ना. और एक थर्ड पॉइंट ऑफ इन्फ्रेंस लिख लो. However, across most countries of Western Europe, yes, Somalia, etc. ठीक है? Yes, because subsist. Okay. However, across most countries of Western Europe, okay, and Americas, comma Japan, okay, the population growth has significantly declined. Because of decline in TFR. In TFR. ठीक है? Now make this in a box. ये वाला discussion को box में कर दो. Keep that discussion in box. This entire discussion of this table वाला जो पूरा है उसको box करके अलग कर दो. ठीक है? Keep it in a box. Close the box now. These 3 points of inferences, keep it in a box, close the box. Now start writing after the box. Okay. Outside the box. Okay. So those 5 areas where there are density of population is high, what are those? अफ्रीका कहाँ डाल दिया? अफ्रीका कहाँ से आ गया 5 डेंसली पॉपुलेटेड वाले में? नॉर्थ ईस्ट अमेरिका. वेरी गुड. ठीक है. So let's try to understand why the density of population is high. Factors. Write down factors. Write down factors. Okay. So first are the historical factors. First are the historical factors. Okay. Historical factors. Now see, historical factors are also somehow related to the physical factors only. The earliest civilizations also, where did they start? They had some supply of water. They had ample land resources, fertile soils. There were the conditions. There itself the civilizations flourished. Isn't it so? Yes. So earliest civilizations, those regions, for example, India and China, they have been part of the earliest civilizations or not? Yes. So because of that only, the population continued to increase. जहाँ पहले population आके रुकी, तो वहीं the population increase would happen or not? Yes. So earlier civilizations are also the places which are densely populated currently. For example, India and China, right? So first लिख लो historical factors. The areas of earlier civilizations. The areas of earlier civilizations. Okay. The areas of earlier civilizations. For example, India, China. Second, write down physical factors. In that we will discuss the different physical factors. Okay. Suitable physical factors. Physical factors. Okay. So first in physical factor, first availability of land resources. Availability of land resources, comma fertile soils. comma water resources, ठीक है. Now see, the earlier economic activity that the man was pursuing was agriculture. Okay, the earliest civilizations, the earlier settlements. Okay, where was the earliest population concentrated? Where they could perform agriculture. Simple. Okay, the earlier economic activity was agriculture. For agriculture, they required fertile soils, water, and land resources. Fertile soils, extensive land resources. नहीं तो land तो hilly areas में भी है, but we also require extensive patches of land. So where there were earlier settlements, jahan jahan आकर के there were settlements, so there were the densely populated concentration of the population. Simple. Okay, so for example, write down Ganges Valley. Okay. Ganges. Okay, fertile alluvial tract of Ganges. Okay, alluvial tract लिखो कहाँ कहाँ. Example, India, Ganges and Brahmaputra. Okay, so plains. Okay, fertile plains of Ganges and Brahmaputra. Okay. Then Yangtze and Yellow River in China. Yangtze and Yellow River. Okay, Yangtze and Yellow River. Okay. इसमें ये लाइन भी लिख लो, इंक्लूड दिस लाइन. ओके, द अर्लियर सेटलमेंट, इसी पॉइंट में कंटिन्यू. द अर्लियर सेटलमेंट्स, the earlier settlements and the concentration of population okay, was around the economic activity of agriculture, comma which required ambient conditions for growing crops like rice, wheat, etc. ठीक है, GS1 में this was also asked question, how history influences geography. That was one of the question. पूछा हुआ है ना, पढ़ा नहीं है GS1 में, मेन से पूछा हुआ क्वेश्चन है. यस, तो तुमने ऐसे बोला पेपर सॉल्व करके आए हो, है ना. क्वेश्चन पेपर देखते हो PYQ के कि नहीं देखते हो? देखते हो. ये क्वेश्चन देखा है, हिस्ट्री इन्फ्लुएंसेस ज्योग्राफी, ऐसे टाइप का क्वेश्चन था 2 साल पहले की लास्ट ईयर ऐसा था, है ना. तो हिस्ट्री इन्फ्लुएंसेस ज्योग्राफी, ज्योग्राफी इन्फ्लुएंसेस हिस्ट्री और नॉट. यस. इज दिस द रिस्पेक्ट और नॉट? यस. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट सेकंड पॉइंट लिखो इसमें. ठीक है, हमने क्या लिखा अभी? लैंड रिसोर्सेज. ठीक है, अब सेकंड लिखो क्लाइमेटिक कंडीशंस. नहीं, थर्ड नहीं, सेकंड में ही बी. फिजिकल कंडीशन, वी आर राइटिंग फिजिकल कंडीशन, राइट. इसी में बी लिखो, बी. climatic condition, suitable climatic condition. Okay, climatic condition. Now where would one want to reside? Where the ambient climatic conditions are there or where the temperature drops to -40 degree? यहाँ -5 हो जाए तो यहीं भी तुम्हारी जान निकल जाती है ना. ये छोड़ो यार, AC चला दिया इतने ते, है ना. यहीं पे 5 डिग्री हो जाए इससे तो वॉट लग जाती है. -40 डिग्री, वहां पे जाके क्यों रहेंगे, राइट. Now very importantly, -40, -20, are these conditions existing in some regions of India or not? Yes. Where? For Siachen, Ladakh, ठीक है, Laurel Spiti, these are the areas which are having very harsh climatic conditions. ऐसी temperature अगर 40-50 हो जाए, then also it becomes very difficult to thrive. But 50 तो normal हो गया है ना. Summers में 50 तो हो ही जाता है अब तो. This is a new normal and we are trying to adjust to that. That is adaptation. Okay, species also thrive and adapt, the others perish. Okay, those who are not able to thrive, they will perish, right. But the earlier settlements, they were made around those areas where the climatic conditions, they were suitable. Okay, there were ambient climatic conditions. Now first is because we have to thrive. Okay, we have to adjust in that climatic condition. But second, why ambient climatic conditions are required for hmm, agriculture? Very good. Earlier economic activities, they were around agriculture only. Then trading, transportation, industrialization, that would thrive. But earlier climatic conditions which were suitable for, okay, for humans to survive in that area, because they would also have to produce food, and for agriculture we also require the suitable climatic conditions, right? So in these areas, for example, across the South Asian region, okay, we are having the monsoon type of climatic conditions. We are having high average precipitation. In case of India, what is the average precipitation? Somewhere around 100, 200, 300 ने यार बहुत ज़्यादा बना दिया है, तो डबल कर दिया है ना. 115, 120 centimeters, that is the average annual precipitation. Okay, so which is good amount of precipitation. Okay, in some areas in India, yes, the precipitation is even as high as 200 to 50 centimeters, but average precipitation is around 110, 115 centimeter. Okay, so because of these ambient conditions also, like the monsoonal climatic conditions, we can have a variety of the choices of crops or not. Yes, so that is also why the initial populations concentrated around these areas. Now in temperate areas, okay, there are certain areas which are still having the ambient conditions. For example, the temperate grasslands. Okay, there we can produce good quantity of food. Bread baskets बोलते हैं ना, ठीक है. एक तो ambient condition है, physical conditions है, but because also of the human intervention. But there are certain conditions, right? So these conditions were very much required for the initial civilizations to settle. Simple climatic conditions. Climatic condition में लिखो ambient temperature and precipitation. Ambient temperature and precipitation. Conditions are required for agriculture to thrive. Agriculture to thrive. ठीक. It provides choices of cropping pattern. Choices of cropping pattern. And year long LGP, length of growing period. Year long LGP, length of growing period. Now understand that, for example, in a region, okay, the average annual temperature, it varies from, let's say, 15 degrees to, let's say, 45 degrees. Okay, even when the temperature is 15 degrees, 20 degrees, it is low. Okay, but still we can grow some crops or not. Yes, so the length of growing period will be year long. Okay, but in any particular region, if the temperature drops to, let's say, minus 30, can we now cultivate crops? No. Here the length of growing period will be shorter. Okay, so if the ambient temperature and precipitation conditions are there, then the length of growing period will be year long. So for India, okay, on an average, generally, okay, for example, in Ganges area or in the Brahmaputra belt, do we have year long LGP? Yes. What do we refer it to as? एलजीपी को आप सिंपल टर्म्स में बोलो, क्या क्या मतलब हुआ उसका? कौन से क्रॉप हुए फिर? राबी, खारिफ, जैद. सो दैट इज ईयर लॉन्ग एलजीपी. क्लियर हो गया? अब ईयर लॉन्ग एलजीपी है, तभी तो वी आर हैविंग राबी, खारिफ एंड जैद और नॉट? यस, उसको ब्रैकेट में लिख लो. दैट इज वी हैव खारिफ, राबी एंड जैद क्रॉप्स. दैट इज वी हैव खारिफ, राबी एंड जैद क्रॉप्स. Year long LGP. But in hilly areas, we are not having the ambient condition, so it is only LGP is only 6 months. है ना? So that is why also the population concentration is here. Okay. यहाँ पे एग्जाम्पल मॉनसूनल वाला साउथ एशिया में दिखाओ, क्योंकि साउथ एशिया इज वन ऑफ द डेंसली पॉपुलेटेड रीजन. तो ड्रॉ मैप, एक छोटा सा मैप बनाओ. नहीं दिया, कभी नहीं दिया, पहली बार दोगे अगले साल. ठीक है, 27 में देना है. अभी तो बहुत टाइम है, अगले साल दोगे 26 में. 2027 बहुत टाइम है अभी तो. 26 तुम तो हो भी पहले से तैयारी कर रहे हो ना भैया, यहाँ तो चलाओ, ऐसे ही कर रहे हो. राइट डाउन. ठीक है, साउथ एशियन रीजन, influence of monsoons. For settlements and agriculture, cropping patterns and length of growing period. Those students who are in the online mode, are they able to see the video now properly? Please let me know. Okay, अब वीडियो ठीक है बच्चों? Is the video fine now? Video stuck. Am I visible and audible now properly? थोड़ा सा बीच में कुछ टेक्निकल इशू हो गया था. बच्चे तो समझ गए, पर अब फिर चल भी रहा है कि नहीं वीडियो, वो भी तो पता लगे. चल रहा है अब? ठीक है, बढ़िया, ठीक है, ओके ओके, ठीक है, यस. तुम अभी भी वहीं पे रुके हो, अब आगे बढ़ो. ठीक है, नाउ सी, बड़े बड़े शहरों में ऐसे छोटी छोटी चीजें होती रहती है. ठीक है, अब देखो, जब बोल रहे हैं तब तुम्हारा ध्यान क्लास के मैसेज में है, तो ऐसे ही होता है ना. क्रॉपिंग पैटर्न एंड लेंथ ऑफ ग्रोइंग पीरियड. ठीक है, नाउ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंटली आई मेंशन्ड दिस एस्पेक्ट हियर. नाउ सी, क्लाइमेटिक कंडीशंस, आर दे इन्फ्लुएंसिंग एग्रीकल्चर? यस. Agriculture cropping pattern, agriculture choice of crops, agriculture length of growing period, right? So this is influencing human settlements, human population concentration. I'll just introduce you to a term here. Okay, एक term हम बोल देते हैं यहाँ पे, that is climate is influencing agriculture. Yes. So what it will be? Will it be determinism or possibilism? Determinism. Okay, physical factors influencing the human aspect, that is agriculture. Agriculture is human economic activity, right? So physical factor, that is climate is influencing the human economic activity, agriculture here. So this is determinism, right? And when climate determines the human activities, this will be climatic determinism, right? And very importantly, listen to me first. When agriculture is being influenced by the climatic conditions, so I can have variety of cropping patterns. Okay, in some areas I can grow rice, in some areas I can grow wheat, in some areas I can grow pulses, depending on the climatic conditions. Okay, so when there are choices of crops depending on the climate, this is called as agroclimatic. Okay, agroclimatic. And I can have different regions on the basis of that also. Yes, where there are different cropping patterns depending on the climatic conditions. So these are called as agroclimatic regions. Okay, just bracket में एक line लिख लेते हैं. Write down ACR bracket में. Okay. Make a small box or a bracket, write down in a box or bracket, because we will refer to this in agriculture unit, but just for your reference. Okay, in box write down climate influencing the agriculture. Climate influencing the agriculture. Climate influencing the agriculture is determinism. Is determinism. Okay, is determinism. Okay, full stop. As per the different climatic conditions, as per the different climatic conditions, there can be different choices of crops. Choices of crops. Okay, this can be divided into different regions. This can be divided into different regions. These are called as ACRs, agroclimatic regions. Agroclimatic regions. ठीक है, ACR. बस बॉक्स में इतना है. Now see, across South Asia, Southeast Asia, these are the dominant factors. Okay, prominent physical factors and early civilizations. Now there is another belt, that is Western Europe and North East America. Okay, that is also densely populated. Now there is a club of the factors, that is physical factors. Okay, but also availability of resources, which has led to industrialization. Okay, so इसी में physical में ही लिख लेते हैं, मतलब ये belt लिख लेते हैं. We will also discuss the other reason. Okay, so write down Western Europe and Eastern North America. फिजिकल में ही लिखो. हाँ, ओके, क्लाइमेट के अंडर लिख लो, बल्कि क्लाइमेट के अंडर ही लिखो. ओके, अंडर क्लाइमेट ओनली राइट डाउन नेक्स्ट पॉइंट वेस्टर्न यूरोप एंड नॉर्थ ईस्ट अमेरिका. वेस्टर्न यूरोप एंड नॉर्थ ईस्ट अमेरिका. Densely populated because of suitable climatic condition. Climate is temperate. Okay, climate is temperate. In most of the region, climate is temperate. Northeast America, huh? Then write down climate is mild. Climate is mild, temperate. Climate is mild, temperate. Okay. Climate is mild and temperate, which is also suitable for certain crops: wheat, barley, oats. wheat, barley, oats. Okay. Wheat, barley, oats. I'll come to sparsely populated later on. Okay, wheat, barley, oats. Next item, third point. थर्ड पॉइंट लिखो. हाँ, थर्ड उसी में कंटिन्यू हो जाएगा अमेरिका वाला. ठीक है, ये वाली बेल्ट का थर्ड पॉइंट लिखो. थर्ड नहीं, इसमें नहीं, फिजिकल में. हाँ, फिजिकल में ही थर्ड. सी 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 फिजिकल में सी. ओके, फिजिकल में सी. राइट डाउन अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ रिसोर्सेस. अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ रिसोर्सेस और रॉ मटेरियल्स. अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ रिसोर्सेस और रॉ मटेरियल. okay, availability of resources or raw materials. Now the first condition was there is availability of the suitable climatic conditions, availability of land, etc. But if there is also availability of resources, coal resources, oil resources, mineral resources, etc. So what would happen? There will be industrialization. Okay, so these were the suitable conditions which were also responsible for the first industrial revolution, apart from the other factors, because there were availability of the resources, there were coal resources, right? So where there was industrial revolution, so along the Great Britain there was the concentration of population. जैसे कि आप समझो, then there is availability of resources. Okay, when there is availability of resources. Okay, so across Great Britain the first condition was availability of resources. Okay, and as there is availability of resources, so first industry came up, right? When more and more industries started coming up, then what happened? Then the population started migrating from rural to urban areas. When there is migration from rural to urban areas, already the industrialization has started. So will there be an increase in number of settlements in the urban area? Yes. So it started increasing the number of settlements in the urban areas. It led to the initial urbanization. And that is why the population increased in this area. Densely populated yaad aa raha hai this region? Western Europe? Yes. So from Great Britain, then there was the dispersal of the population in the nearby countries also, because the industrialization was spreading here across the Western Europe and then towards the Eastern Europe, right? So because there was the initial urbanization here, so hence there was the density of population that was increasing here. Simple, समझ में आ गया? ठीक है? So this area had witnessed initial urbanization. हम अगर बोले where are the initial urban settlements, जहाँ पे सबसे पहले urbanization हुआ है, these are those areas, right? Then there was dispersal of the industrialization towards Americas and towards the other region. Okay, so hence here there was the dispersal of population, and hence because of urbanization we can say that the population density started increasing. समझ में आया? So that was because of the availability of resources. Availability of resources led to industrialization and urbanization and increase in density of population. Now this is different from what was happening in the agricultural belts. Across the agrarian areas, what was the reason? It was fertile alluvial region, fertile soils, etc. Okay, इसी में लिखो industrial availability of resources में write down availability of resources like coal, oil, etc. This led to industrialization. This led to industrialization. And migration of population from rural to urban area. Migration of population from rural to urban areas. Okay. Hence, it increased the population in urban areas and led to the initial urbanization. The initial urbanization and emergence of urban settlements. And emergence of urban settlements. in Great Britain. ठीक है. They spread to other parts of Western Europe. ठीक है. Leading to increase in density of population. Leading to increase in population density. ठीक है. Density of population density one and same thing. ठीक है. So very importantly, just I will give you a hint here. We will extend this discussion in settlements. So what happened in these areas during the first industrial revolution, because this was the urbanization that was happening in the particular areas of the Western Europe, right? So what was happening there, is it happening now in the developing countries? Yes, because now we are witnessing that type of industrialization 150 years down the line now. Are you understanding the point? So what was happening there is now happening in developing countries. So what problems they were facing, we are facing now. What was the socio-economic condition there, now we are facing that similarly across the developing countries. समझ में आ रहा है? But इसके बीच में a lot has happened. Okay, because a lot of emissions have already happened. So that is why we are also facing the repercussions now. They were not facing the repercussions then. Okay, so that is the scenario. So densely populated because of availability of the resources. Simple. Now availability of resources, for example, write down Ruhr. RUHR, Ruhr. Germany. Appalachian. Okay, Appalachian region. Appalachian कहाँ है? Appalachian coalfield. Northeast America. Very good. Appalachian. ठीक है. Appalachian. Okay, this is what I have shown you, that there was dispersal of the industrial revolution and then the density of population that started increasing in this belt. Okay, simple. Clear है? ठीक है. Industrial revolution it started. Okay, industrial revolution it starts and then there is a dispersal, so because of which there is a population concentration here. Simple. And from here, from Western Europe, there is also the dispersal of the industrial revolution towards northeast coast of America, across the Atlantic or not? Yes. By 1920s, 1930s, the manufacturing is there. याद आ रहा है ना? So because of that, because of first factor is availability of resources. ये भी समझो. Northeast coast also is having Appalachian coalfield, water resources, land resources, right? And accessibility to coastline. All of these are favorable physical factors. And then there is dispersal of the industrial revolution. So that also leads to urbanization across northeast coast of America. ये clear हो रहा है कि नहीं? समझ में आ रहा है? Or I will repeat it. What I am saying is, okay, what happens here is because of favorable resources, coal resources. Okay, so here the industrialization starts. So initially the urban settlements they emerge here. Here there is urbanization, right? But now as the trade happens between Atlantic, okay, and northeast coast of America is also having the similar factors. Okay, Appalachian coal fields, availability of water resources, okay, availability of land resources, and it is also having accessibility to coastline, right? So trade can happen. Whatever is manufactured here, that can be transported here. Okay, so from here the industrialization is also happening here, right? And by 1920s 30s this is also a major industrial belt now. Okay, अब यहाँ इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन हो रहा है. ठीक है. फोर्ड कार का नाम सुना होगा आपने, पुराने जमाने में नहीं, फोर्ड है ना. तो ये वो एरिया है. Okay, here there are assembly lines, Ford car, right? So here what happens, now the manufacturing happens. So here there was urbanization. Will the urbanization happen here also? Yes, similar urbanization happens here also. So these are densely populated areas, but these are urbanized areas. These are agrarian belts. Okay, समझ में आ रहा है? Industrialization will happen here, but very late. अभी नहीं. These are early 1900s. Okay, here the industrial revolution has taken place, densely populated areas, urbanization. Here also industrialization takes place, urban areas, urban density of population increases. So densely populated areas, why we understand now. East west में बहुत disparity है. ठीक है, ईस्ट अमेरिका और वेस्ट अमेरिका बहुत डिस्पैरिटी है, ठीक है, यही इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन हुआ है, एंड दैट इज बिकॉज ऑफ मोस्टली बिकॉज ऑफ द अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ रिसोर्सेज एंड प्रॉक्सिमिटी टू अटलांटिक। ठीक है, समझ में आया? सो ट्रेड यहाँ पे डेवलप होना शुरू होता है, बट इनिशियली व्हाट आर द फैक्टर? फिजिकल फैक्टर, अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ रिसोर्सेज, सो क्लाइमेट, लैंड, availability of resources, ठीक है, raw material. Okay, so here density of population is high, but agrarian economies, here the density of population is high, but this is economic activity, that is industrialization. Okay, so star mark करके लिखो, the density of population, the density of population, you must refer to the class discussion first of all. Okay, first refer to class discussion, these are very comprehensive class discussions. I've comprehended the discussion from many books, you must refer to only class notes for now. Okay, that I had mentioned yesterday also, khalsa. Okay, क्या लिखा हमने? The density of population, the density of population, okay, increased across Western Europe and Northeast America, okay, in the urban areas, ठीक है, in the urban areas, although very important point, इसी में same point continue, although initially the population concentration increased due to favorable physical factors like availability of raw material, or resources, okay. However, with the availability of resources, industrialization started, ठीक है, industrialization started, hence because of the economic activities associated with industries, ठीक है, with industries there was further urbanization and development in these regions, okay. There are certain physical factors which are suitable, because of which industrialization takes place and because of which further urbanization takes place, right? So there is concentration of the urban population here, very important. But as more and more urban areas they start to emerge, what would happen? Will they get connected or not? Yes. They say, for example, Delhi emerged as an important economic hub. Did it started getting connected to Sonipat, Panipat like that on or not? Yes. So there will be development of the trade and transportation lines now, transportation and communication. Okay, so that would also lead to connectivity between the different urban areas, and then there will be further urban population which will start getting connected, isn't it so? Yes. अब जल्दी से हम जयपुर पहुंच जाते हैं, पहले टाइम लगता था, अब देहरादून पहुंच जाते हो 4 घंटे में, है ना. तो बिकॉज ऑफ डेवलपमेंट ऑफ द ट्रांसपोर्टेशन कम्युनिकेशन लाइन्स, सो दैट वुड ऑल्सो इवेंचुअली लीड टू रीजनल डेवलपमेंट ऑफ दैट एरिया और नॉट. यस. ओके. सो इसी में एक और लाइन लिख लो. दिस लेड टू फर्दर डेवलपमेंट ऑफ transportation and communication. This led to further development of transportation and communication. Okay, transportation and communication between the different urban areas and regional development and planning. And regional development देख लो, and regional development and regional development. अब एक दो जगह का नाम लिखते हैं, छोटा सा ऐसा रफ आउटलाइन मैप बनाओ जिससे आपको ये याद रहेगा. ओके, राइट डाउन 1 or 2 places. राइट डाउन मैनचेस्टर, लिवरपूल, नॉटिंगम, बर्मिंगम, लंदन. ओके, 2-3 प्लेसेस के नाम लिख लो. लिवरपूल, मैनचेस्टर, बर्मिंगम, नॉटिंगम, लंदन. लिवरपूल, मैनचेस्टर, नॉटिंगम, बर्मिंगम, लंदन. फिगर का नाम जहाँ वो हमने इंडस्ट्रियल रेवोल्यूशन लिखा है ना, वही लिख लो. इसका नाम लिख लो आप इनिशियल इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन एंड अर्बनाइजेशन इन ग्रेट ब्रिटेन. एक मिनट. अच्छा, इसका फेवरेबल क्लाइमेटिक कंडीशन था ना, तो इसमें लिख लो. अच्छा, मॉनसून वाले में लिख लो फिगर का नाम. लिखवाया था मैंने. इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ मानसून, हाँ ठीक है. साउथ एशियन रीजन, पॉपुलेशन कंसंट्रेशन, इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ मानसून. साउथ एशियन रीजन, हाँ उसको देख लो, उसका कॉपी देख लो, है ना. ठीक है. Okay. So if any region is densely populated, what are the conditions? Why it is densely populated? Climate, historical factors. What else? Physical factors, resources. What else? Agriculture, because of availability of fertile land, water resources. Okay, fertile soils. Yes, very good. Okay, economic opportunities like that. Okay, so because of which these are densely populated. But on the other hand, there will be sparsely populated regions also. So write down sparsely populated. नहीं, बाहर लिखो ना, फोर्थ क्यों होगा, है ना. स्पार्सली पॉपुलेटेड हो गया. स्पार्सली पॉपुलेटेड, स्पार्सली पॉपुलेटेड, sparsely populated. Okay. Write down. If there is lack of favorable climatic conditions, lack of favorable climatic conditions, comma unavailability of resources, comma unavailability of resources, comma lack of connectivity, comma harsh and undulating terrain, harsh and undulating terrain, harsh and undulating terrain. harsh and undulating terrain means ऐसा ऐसा terrain है. ठीक है, harsh है एक तो, बहुत हाई ऑल्टीट्यूड है, एंड अनड्यूलेटिंग टेरेन, देयर इज नो फ्लैट लैंड, ओके, देयर नॉट फर्टाइल सॉइल्स एक्सेट्रा, ठीक है, harsh and undulating terrain, okay, this this results into sparsely populated this results into sparsely populated regions of the world, okay. For example, polar areas, okay. So latitudes above 60 65, okay. For example, okay, ice capped tundra region, ice capped tundra regions, okay, ice capped tundra regions, फटाफट से बना लो, ice capped tundra regions. हमने किया था कुछ, हमने सॉइल्स किया था, वेजिटेशन किया था हमने, चलो बताऊंगी, देखते हैं क्लास के बाद बात करना, ठीक है। फटाफट से छोटा सा डायग्राम बना लो, ठीक, टुंड्रा टुंड्रा पूरा बनाओगे तो फिर कल ही मिलेंगे हम। ठीक है, रफ सा स्कीमेटिक बना लो, बहुत आर्टिस्ट्री नहीं चाहिए, उसको समझ में आना चाहिए जो पढ़ रहा है कि टुंड्रा बनाया है, ऐसे नहीं लगे घर के पीछे कोई खेत का ड्राइंग है, तो इसलिए हमेशा फिगर का नाम लिखना जरूरी है ना। जस्ट मेंशन आइस कैप टुंड्रा रीजन्स, ठीक है। राइट ऑन डेजर्ट्स सहारा थार, ओके, कॉमा सेकंड, उसी में सेकंड पॉइंट डेजर्ट्स, ओके, सहारा थार पैटागोनिया, पैटागोनिया, so this region is a desert, why, any idea why this region is a desert? Because yes, very good, okay. So when the air is rising on the windward side, there will be rainfall, and the descending air, which is dry air, this will be the leeward side, so hence these will be the deserts, okay. This area will be drier. For example, the interiors, okay, the eastern slopes of the western ghats, these are also dry areas or not? Yes, like the interiors of Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, etc., they are drier, so these are leeward areas, okay. So similarly the deserts of South America, okay. So Patagonia, etc., write down, उसमें बस लिख लो unfavorable climatic conditions and low precipitation, unfavorable climatic conditions and low precipitation, okay, and low precipitation, okay. Similarly rainforest, very dense vegetation, okay. So it is difficult to make settlements, so very dense vegetation, not suitable for agriculture, but now we are clearing it for agriculture, that is something else, okay. So very dense vegetation, not suitable for agriculture, lack of flat vast stretches of land, okay, lack of vast flat stretches of land, not suitable for agriculture, okay. Lack of flat vast stretches of land, okay. Just write down name of few tribes, write down Bushmen of Kalahari, Bushmen of Kalahari, Bushmen of Kalahari, Badoin, Badavin, Badoin, around Sahara, Badoin, okay. Matse, Amazon, Matse, Amazon, etc. Okay. Now I want to, let's associate another aspect in this discussion. ठीक है, इसको ध्यान देंगे, थोड़े से कुछ ट्राइब्स के नाम लिखते हैं and how the changes in their lifestyle is happening, because till now what our understanding is that why some area is densely populated is because of favorable physical factors, why some areas are densely sparsely populated because of lack of physical factors, lack of climatic suitable climatic factors, right? But now how the factors are changing and what are these associated aspects, let's try to understand that. Okay, अच्छा एक लिखो, आप ऐसे करो, okay, write down example. Okay, example लिखो, sparsely populated region, sparsely populated region, okay, sparsely populated region. Now see, these altitudes and these latitudes what we are talking about, ठीक है, these are the areas which are sparsely populated. Okay, this is our understanding. But हम ये जो बात कर रहे हैं टुंड्रा रीजन जो है, ठीक है, अब इस रीजन में there are certain tribes also. Okay, they are almost having similar lifestyle, almost similar lifestyle. Why? Because of harsh climatic conditions. Okay, so they are different names. So write down Eskimos. Okay, around northern Canada. Okay, Northern America, Eskimos. Around Alaska also. Okay, Laps, Laps, LAPPS, Laps. Okay, Laps around Finland, around Denmark. Okay, Sweden, Scandinavian region. Right, na? Denmark, Sweden, etc. So Scandinavia, Yakuts, Yakuts, Lena Basin. Okay, Russia, Koryaks and Chukchis, Koryaks and Chukchis, Northeastern Asia. Now we understand where they are living. ठीक है, ये लैटिट्यूड हमें समझ में आ रहा है, रीजन समझ में आ रहा है. What do you think will be their traditional lifestyle? What type of economic activity is sustainable here? Is agriculture sustainable here? No, agriculture is not sustainable. What type of lifestyle would they be pursuing? Animal husbandry. Animal husbandry कैसी होगी? हंटिंग टाइप हो सकता है ना, हंटिंग हो सकता है ना, और क्या हो सकता है, पेस्टोरल हो सकता है ना. स्पीशीज कैसे होंगे जो यही सस्टेन कर सकते हैं, राइट? बहुत हाई लेटीट्यूड्स में, या फिर आप अगर जैसे इधर जाओगे बहुत हाई ऑल्टीट्यूड में, अगर इंडिया में भी जाओगे, व्हाट टाइप ऑफ स्पीशीज विल यू सी? यू विल नॉट सी काउ बफेलो, यू विल सी याक्स, राइट? सो दो स्पीशीज हु आर सस्टेनेबल हियर, they can only be reared, right? What type of economic activities they would be into? Hunting. What else? Yes, something like that. But it would be nomadic, or will it be permanent settlement? Nomadic. Okay, permanent settlements are not sustainable here. So generally what type of lifestyle they are pursuing from centuries is that, okay, they are making their settlements from, okay, animal skin. Okay, and from that they are moving from one place to another. Okay, बहुत इनके जो टेंट्स होते हैं, they're very thick and they carry their tents from one place to another. That is what they are pursuing from the historical time periods, from centuries. Okay, they are not into permanent settlements. समझ में आ रहा है? So will they be sparsely populated or densely populated? Sparsely populated. Okay, they're not into economic activities of industrialization, not into the permanent settlements like this. Okay, this is brick and mortar. Okay, they are into moving lifestyle from one place to another as per the also seasonal climatic changes. Okay, जब बहुत snowfall हो गया तो वहां से move कर गया like that. Okay, this is the historical lifestyle what they have been pursuing. Can we say the physical factors were influencing their lifestyle? Can we say this is determinism? Yes. So write down very important point. ये example को box में रखेंगे. Okay? Write down first point. These tribes, नहीं नहीं पूरा ही बॉक्स में जाएगा, पूरा डिस्कशन आगे वाला भी, क्योंकि एग्जाम्पल को कंटिन्यूटी में रखो. ओके, राइट डाउन दीज टाइप्स historically have led nomadic lifestyle. Nomadic lifestyle. Okay, nomadic lifestyle. They move from one place to another. They move from one place to another. Perform activities like hunting, fishing, some bit of animal rearing. Some bit of animal rearing. Okay. Hence, physical factors dominate their less population concentration. So this is determinism. Bracket में लिखो determinism. Determinism. Okay. Now recently there are news articles that in the past 30-40 years we are seeing a change in their lifestyle. Why the change in lifestyle is visible now? Because of the melting ice caps, right? Because of the climate change, correct, right? So what is happening now? These areas are becoming greener landscapes which were covered with snow. Now they are becoming greener landscape. Greening landscape to suna hi hai humne around this region, right? So what is happening now? As the landscape turns greener, will the agriculture be possible here? Yes, agriculture will become possible here. Okay, permanent fishing will also start becoming possible here. Some bit of industrialization may also start. Okay, small scale we can also see that also. Now what we are witnessing is that now from their temporary nomadic lifestyle, now they are constructing wooden houses. Will their population concentration increase? Yes. Those areas which were erstwhile sparsely populated, maybe in the coming 30-40 years, maybe they would become densely populated. We don't know, right? So what is this? Is this determinism? What is this? This is possibilism. Because of man's possibilities, now they are changing this landscape, and erstwhile which was a sparsely populated area maybe now be a well populated area in the coming decades. So this is a transition in their lifestyle that we are witnessing. And now from where I had started, मैंने पहले ये बोला था, that is the population concentration. Why there are densely populated areas? We have seen mostly because of the physical factors, because nature is influencing where the humans can thrive and where it is not possible to survive, isn't it so? But now because of possibilities of man, man can also thrive in those areas which were erstwhile not habitated. So in Maya, next one likho. However, recently there have been changes in the lifestyle, changes in the lifestyle of these tribes, like permanent wooden houses construction of permanent wooden houses, schools, greening of landscape. etc. In the coming decades, this might result into this might result into turning off sparsely populated regions into higher population concentration. This is an outcome of changes in the physical environment induced by human beings ठीक है, which is possibilism ठीक है, बॉक्स क्लोज कर दो। ठीक है, नेक्स्ट आइटम पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ और ग्रोथ ऑफ पॉपुलेशन, वन एंड द सेम थिंग, पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ और ग्रोथ ऑफ पॉपुलेशन। If you go and see the mains papers of GS1 in the past 3-4 years, once we have completed this topic, you will be able to answer all of them. Okay? Just the thing is that while we are attempting all those topics in the classes, you must also go and just have a look in the paper. थोड़ा सा देख लो ह्यूमन ज्योग्राफी में क्या क्या क्वेश्चन आए हैं, है ना, कैन आई अटेम्प्ट देम और नॉट। और बढ़िया होगा लिख के मुझे दिखा दो। आफ्टर 2-3 क्लासेस यू कैन ऑल्सो राइट दोस एंड ऑल्सो शो मी, है ना। थोड़ा ट्राई करोगे, क्या है बुराई उसमें। आंसर राइटिंग करो, थोड़ा थोड़ा करते हो आंसर राइटिंग कितना। फिर वही मैं पूछूंगी, ए तुम बताओगे, सी, है ना। जीएस का बताओ। अच्छा, कोई बच्चा कर रहा है जीएस के आंसर राइटिंग, थोड़ा थोड़ा कर सकते हैं साइड में, थोड़ा थोड़ा मतलब शुरू किया है कि बस ये क्लास नोट्स और समरी अभी इतना ही हो रहा है, कुछ करते हो थोड़ा बहुत, आप बताओ। हाँ तो 2-4 आंसर ही दिखा देना, हफ्ते में 2 आंसर तो बहुत हो गया, ये तो बहुत बड़ा टास्क हो गया, हफ्ते में 2 आंसर तो, है ना, 2 आंसर भी लिख लो तो बहुत होगा, है ना। तो कुछ तो ट्राई कर सकते हैं, कैसे ट्राई करना है, वो वाले आंसर से, राइट ए शॉर्ट नोट टाइप, एक्सप्लेन टाइप के, है ना। क्वेश्चन अभी 2-3 क्लास के बाद देंगे, अभी दे दिया तो फिर तुम क्या ही लोगोगे मुझे पता है ना। 2-3 आंसर, 2-3 क्लास के बाद कंटेंट हो जाएगा, फिर लिखना, ठीक है। आज ट्यूसडे है ना, थर्सडे को देते हैं या फ्राइडे को, है ना, डन। पर वो आंसर आएगा नहीं, वो आंसर आएगा 2 हफ्ते बाद, है ना। मैं चेक नहीं करूंगी, ऐसे 2 हफ्ते बाद आंसर फेंक देते हो, लो देखो, ठीक है। पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ ऑफ पॉपुलेशन, सिंपल, what the term is explaining to us, how population growth is happening, why it will happen, because the birth rate is more than the death rate, right. So population growth means birth rate minus death rate, simple. Okay, so write down population growth. This is the change in population numbers, this is the change in population numbers, this is the change in population number, ठीक है। अर्शी करी है तो दिखाना भी फिर मेरे को, ठीक है। वो आंसर राइटिंग करी है, वो अपने पास नहीं रखना, फिर उसमें डरना नहीं कि बहुत बेकार लिखा है, क्या बेकार लिखोगे यार, है ना। वो सबसे बेकार सबसे पेपर में जाके लिखो, अभी लिख लो बेकार, डरना नहीं है, ठीक है। क्या लिखा हमने, चेंज इन पॉपुलेशन नंबर्स, ठीक है, ऑन अकाउंट ऑफ birth rate and death rate, on account of birth rate and death rate changes, changes. Birth rate and death rate changes. Okay. Write down population growth, that is birth rate minus death rate. बर्थ रेट माइनस डेथ रेट. यूनिट क्या होगी? बर्थ रेट हो गया. 100 लोग पैदा हुए हैं और 20 लोग मर गए, तो 80 लोग बच गए, उसका क्या यूनिट लोगे? कूलम लोगे. है ना. लोगों का क्या यूनिट लगाएंगे. ठीक है. बर्थ रेट माइनस डेथ रेट हो गया. ठीक है. Now when we are taking into account birth rate and death rate, this is natural population growth. Okay. We can also take into account migrants, but this is natural population growth. Okay. Now next point, write down the world population. The world population has grown temporally, and currently is 8.2 billion, which is projected to grow to 8.9 billion by 2050. Okay. Now this is a graph. Okay. We can see the years here. Okay. ये years है, साल है. There are two lines. One is this blue line and one is this orange line. The blue line is showing the population increase. Okay. The population increase, but this is absolute number. Okay. So earlier it was around 2 billion. Okay. 50s. Then it increased 3 billion, 4 billion, like that. Then by 2025, we have already breached the 8 billion mark. It is projected to increase. Okay. The increase is projected to be around 9 billion. But here we can see a shaded area. The shaded area indicates that the population increase can be more than 9 billion. That depends on the fertility rate reduction also. If the fertility rate continues to increase, for example, in African countries, the population growth can be more, right? So in absolute numbers, this is the trajectory. It can be also somewhere around 11 billions. Okay, it can stabilize around somewhere between 10 to 11 billions, but it would stabilize. By 2050s, 60s, it is projected to stabilize. Surely by 2070s and 80s, it would stabilize, because the major chunk of growth was in India and China, where the fertility rates have declined. Now, there is no possibility in any case scenario the fertility rate would not increase now across India and China. That would not happen. Why and what are the reasons, we will understand tomorrow with the help of theories. But in no case scenario the population increase would happen now. Okay, they have tried to reverse the one child policy in case of China, but fertility rates didn't increase. You know that one child policy, पता है China का क्या था? They can have only one child. Then they reversed it to two child policy, three child policy. But now the fertility is not increasing. Okay, that is also kind of mindset. Okay, so anyhow the population will stabilize here. Okay, by 60s, 70s the population would stabilize. This is population in the absolute numbers, and this is the growth rate. Okay, this is the annual growth rate. So what do we see? We see that the yes, 1970s, 60s, 70s the population growth rate was high. Okay, that can also be said to be the population explosion for global population. 70s, 60s mein fertility rate was very high, especially across Asian countries. Okay, so hence what was happening, there was a very high birth rate. Okay, and death rates had declined, so because of which the total population growth rate was high. समझ में आ रहा है? Population growth rate क्या है? Birth rate minus death rate. So here during 60s, 70s the population growth was very high because the birth rate was very high. This is clear. Now the birth rates have declined, so population growth is declining, but population in absolute number is increasing. Simple. Okay. Maybe you can draw this. Okay, don't write all the numbers, but just draw a simple graph to indicate that the population growth rate has declined, but the population in absolute number, that is somewhere around 8. World population growth. World population growth. This trajectory would come down, okay, and this would be increasing. Interestingly, by 2100, you can see that this line is even going below 0. Okay, that would indicate a, if it goes below 0, this indicates a negative population growth. Why there will be negative population growth? When? As compared to birth rate. So अगर ये DR बड़ा हो गया और BR अगर छोटा रह गया तो नेगेटिव पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ हो गया ना, है ना? समझ में आई बात? So by 2100, almost all countries will be having very less fertility, negligible fertility. So it can be possible that the death rates are even higher as compared to the birth rate. So population growth rate can be even negative. Okay. Done. Name the figure as population, world population growth. World population growth. Just mention some of the marks. 8.2 billion, 2025. Okay, 8 billion. 1970s, okay, around 4 billion. Just 2 or 3 marks so that you can recall the numbers. बन गया? ऐसे थोड़ी PhD करनी है, बना लो फटाफट से, छोटा सा ही तो है, बन गया, हो गया। उतना डिटेल में नहीं बनाना है, वो एग्जामिनर डर जाए, अरे बाप रे इतना साइंटिफिक ग्राफ सीधा रिसर्च पेपर से निकाल के बनाया है। बन गया, छोटा सा, बस समझ में आ जाए कि पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ कैसा हो, ठीक है। Now very simply we have seen that the population growth happened, right? But now the question is why? Earlier the population growth was very high, right? Population was increasing significantly, 2 to 4 billion, 4 to 6 and 8 billion, okay? And then it is stagnated, and it will further stagnate. Now the main question is why this is happening, okay? So this happened across different phases. The population growth has not been same historically. The earlier population growth had been almost stagnant. Then suddenly we see by 1900s and mid 1900s there is a steep increase, right? Earlier the population growth is almost stagnant, right? But here the population growth is very significant, and then it is just increasing, but now it is almost stagnant, right? Now the question is why? Okay, because there have been the different timelines, there have been different developments, because of which the population growth has not been same historically, not across world, not across different regions, okay? That we will understand with the help of the demographic transition theory that I will teach you tomorrow, ठीक है? इसको अभी आप ना बनाओ, ना ही इसको आपने समझना है, अभी इसको हम आपको कल समझाएंगे, ठीक है? बट वेरी इंपॉर्टेंटली आई विल टेल यू सर्टेन इन्फ्लुएंसेस. अभी आप ध्यान से देखो, अब पॉपुलेशन देखो 5 million, 500 million, 1000 million, like that, okay? So in 1500 years, this was the first transition. The next transition happened in 154 years. Then in 123 years. Then doubling is within 47 years, like that. It was predicted that it will happen in 2025, but it happened अर्लियर 2023 में ही हो गया था, ठीक है. सो इज द पॉपुलेशन डबलिंग टाइम पीरियड आल्सो सेम? नो. So population growth has not been same, population doubling time has not been same. Historically it has been variable. Just remember this. ठीक है, एक inference लिखो यहाँ पे. The population growth both globally and regionally have been variable. Historically. Also the population doubling time has not been similar. Okay. Write on two examples, from 1 to 2 billion and from 2 to 4 billion. Okay. 1 to 2 billion and 2 to 4 billion. So you will just remember that the transition period is not the same. One to 2 billion and 2 to 4 billion. Okay. 47 years. That's it. Has not been same. Okay. Currently also when we see different countries, we see that the population growth is very high. Especially I told you in the case of African countries. So we see that the population growth is very high, right? But in some other areas, we see that the population growth is also negative. That is in the case of Western Europe, Japan, etc. Germany, all of these countries, they are facing very less population growth, right? So population growth is not same historically, and also currently the population growth is not same across the different countries. This is our understanding. This is our inference. Okay. So next point, very important, write down. The population growth is variable. The population growth is variable as per the different phases. As per the different phases. As per the different phases. This has resulted into underline phases. Okay. This has resulted into variability in absolute population and population growth globally. So what is the term that we have used here? There are phases. There are phases of population growth and they are variable. Why they are variable? That we will try to understand. But there are different phases of population growth because of which the changes in population have been variable. It has not always been steep. Like तो फिर वो steep ही रहता. Population is increasing, it must always increase. Why the fertility rate are declining? Isn't it so? If it has been less, then it should be less. But it doesn't happen like that. It happens in phases. It happens in transitions. Okay. So because of which we have the variability in the population growth rate. So this is the graph from where we started. ठीक है. मैंने आपको जो ग्राफ दिखाया था, the graph which we have drawn, that is only this part. ये वाला पार्ट है ना, 1950s onwards. ठीक है, ये वाला ग्राफ है ना, ये वाला है, सिर्फ इतना पार्ट है. अगर हम इसको हिस्टोरिकली देखेंगे, सो हिस्टोरिकली दिस इज द एंटायर ग्राफ. ओके, सो पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ पीक्ड हियर. दिस इज द पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ रेट, राइट? and this is the population increase in absolute number. Simple. So this is population growth. This is absolute number. Population in absolute number. So you can see the transition from 1 billion to 3 billion. Okay, that is slower. Then from 3 to 4 and 5, this has been very steep. And then it increased rapidly, and now we are projecting it to stagnate. By 1960s, 70s, so 2060s, 70s, it would stagnate, right? This is the idea. So why it has been very less here, why it was high, why it has been very high, and why it will be stagnant. Okay, that we will understand through the different phases or the transitions, and this results into variability in the population growth rate. Simple. Population growth is also not same. Here the population growth is less, but here the growth rate is very high. This results into high absolute population, and then it would decline definitely, right? So this is the entire graph which we will help, which we will try to understand with the help of the transition. Okay, so इसी में एक last line लिख लो. These phases of transition, these phases of transition are called as demographic transitions. Are called as demographic transitions. Through which all countries go, through which all countries go, ठीक, all countries go, resulting into variable population growth, variable population growth. ठीक. So tomorrow we will try to understand these theories which will help us in understanding about population and their growth. Okay, चलो ठीक है, आज के लिए इतना. ठीक है, okay. So tomorrow there will be class. ठीक है, class है पूरा.